I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins, and on the phone I got a very special guest that I'm going to introduce in a few seconds here. And I got a lot of messages from people asking about the elite or the behind-the-scenes elite civil war. Is there some sort of uprising between the elites behind the shadow of the veil? And on the show tonight, I am proud to announce it is Supreme Canon.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mike.
Your internet was down, so I missed you. So I had to call you and see if everything was okay. And I then you explained that your internet was down and explains for your absence.
Yeah, no, I wanted to be on last night's show, but yeah, I've had no internet or very little internet for close to 2 or 3 days now. So yeah, it was good timing. You called me. I'd just gotten it back like a half hour before.
Yeah, I've been
So
stalking you. I actually called you 46 times today.
yeah, approximately. Yeah, I see the list here. Yeah. Well, I would have loved to talk to you, but unfortunately, it wasn't possible. But we'll see how long the signal lasts, my friend.
Okay, so here we are. You sent me a bunch of links, guys, and don't forget if you want to hear more Supreme Canon, don't forget to set your reminders here for the Mike and the Knights coming up. Be a part of it, guys. Be a part of the discussion. We're talking. We're humans. We're built and we're made to talk, and everyone has a different point of view. And what Supreme wants to talk about tonight, and what Supreme sent me links on, is the veil. The what's happening? Is there some sort of disturbance between the elites? Are they starting to change power? Is power starting to move over? Is there? Well, I'm gonna let Supreme Canon talk. He took some point form notes, so I'm gonna let him go ahead. I got Rulers of Evil F Tupper PDF
F
open
top.
first. Go ahead, Supreme, kick it off. Tell us what you want to tell us. What everyone's been asking us about this back end deal war saber rattling. Go ahead.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Nice to interact with you again. Yeah, I've brought up this subject several times, and it does raise some eyebrows. I understand that. Now, I want to qualify that by saying this does not necessarily mean that the world won't still be ruled by elites when it's over. Okay, because that's the world that we've been living in since the beginning of human history. But what I want to expound on is at least the circumstantial evidence that there is something bigger than just another power change or just the same old elites continuing to consolidate their power over the world. I know it looks bad right now. Everyone is locked down at home or is under increased surveillance. It looks like Mr. Gates is moving ahead with a vaccine that we all know has got all kinds of funky stuff in it. We do know that most of our governments are not run by actual patriotic citizens, right? They're people with a completely different agenda than their own countrymen.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to be that there is a counter movement to that, and there has been from the beginning. There really has been, especially since globalism and multiculturalism became the mantra in the mid 60s. There was always resistance to it, but the resistance would be smothered because the media 50 years previously had fallen under corporate ownership. So there's only one permitted narrative that is allowed to get out. Well, the advent of the internet, which was supposed to enhance their social control, it seems to me that they got complacent and they got sloppy because now there are thousands, possibly millions of YouTube channels, pardon me, Twitter accounts, innumerable blogs that have been describing in great detail what these people have been doing all this time, their motivations for doing so, and even the mechanisms by which they gain power. So some of the references that I have that I've sent to Mike are things that I've read over the years or certainly had a good hard look at. And I want to qualify for anybody who's watching. It doesn't matter if you're Catholic or Protestant or Buddhist or Muslim, or if you have no religious inclinations at all. As I've said before, the point I want to make is that the people who run everything behind the scenes very much have a religious affiliation, and they are strong believers in and practitioners of what we would call black magic,
So
Luciferianism.
what? Let me interrupt one sec. Is black magic? Are we talking about hoodoo, voodoo? What are we talking about when it comes to black magic? Like
Basically, we're talking about rituals. See, the
Aleister
whole idea,
Crowley stuff?
Aleister Crowley
Okay.
stuff, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that's another branch on that bush, definitely. And the reason it gets so confusing and why everyone has their own theory about who's actually running things is because there are purposely many, many different branches of this particular tree. And that's the reason it's to sow confusion. But ultimately, all of those branches on that tree feed into the same root. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the root. Henry David Thoreau said at one time, he said, for every thousand hacking at the branches of evil, there's one striking at the root. And what we need to do is we need to be able to trace down the trunk of that tree to the root and find out what it is. Even Jesus said to the Pharisees, Mike, he said, you'll be uprooted and root and branch won't be left for you in the earth, because it was the same system in operation in his time as we have now. And in many
Yeah.
cases, linearly, like continuously operating throughout that time. Obviously, history has shifted, populations have shifted, new nations have emerged in the world that didn't exist before, like the one that we're living in now, for example. So a lot of things have changed, obviously.
Hold on. Before we
But
go off topic,
go ahead.
how do you logically get to the root? Do you follow the money? Do you follow the media? Do you follow your own agenda? Do we go on a hunch? Do we? How does it work? What's the most logic way to get to the root? Because a lot of people would just want to get to the root. They want to get to the Death Star, and they just want to hit that one little button and just blow it up, and that's it.
Well, I'll tell you what I think the problem is with that, and it makes sense. That's obviously where you'd want to. That's where you'd want to go. But it's like those old fairy tales about the knight, who wants to rescue the damsel or access a hidden treasure. But there's always a dragon guarding it, right? So
Right.
usually in those stories, by the time the knight, shows up to fight the dragon, there's the bones of 100 other knights around who went down the same path.
Right.
It's similar to the idea of the kingdom of heaven, right? The kingdom of God. The kingdom of God, or literally the sovereignty of the deity, okay, is not earthly based. It's based above us. It's based in a different dimension. Okay. And what I want to say, because I know there are a lot of skeptics on this channel, and that's just fine. I just want you to understand one concept. Okay. The word religion derives from the Latin, and basically what it means is a reattachment. The whole basis of religion and all of its rituals and all of its myths and such is based on the idea that we once had contact with a different dimension. Okay, and we're seeking to reestablish contact with that different dimension. And that's basically the meaning of the word religion. Again, ligare, attachment, like a ligament or a ligature. Okay, that's the same idea. So it's a reattachment. It's attempting to regain contact with a different world. That's what most religion is based on. Okay. And the rituals, the sacrifices, all of those things, it comes down to, did people come up with them themselves, or were they something that was suggested to them by a message from another dimension?
Right.
Right? Because it's the same. See, this is the thing. The same people that don't believe in God believe in aliens. But those aliens live under the exact same laws of physics in this universe as we do.
That's
And
correct.
it's not really difficult to establish that life could not have emerged, the complex life could not have emerged from dead chemicals and sunshine. There had to have been some kind of intelligent input. Um, and that's just mathematics. You can't point me to the number of stars in the
Right.
sky and say, okay, well, look at all those stars. How could you believe we're alone? That's
It's
someone
like
who doesn't.
a hurricane hitting a book factory and destroying it, and then assembling a Bible or assembling a manual. It's not
Yeah,
gonna. It won't
that's
fly.
right. That's right.
I believe
Yeah.
in creationism too. I believe there's a creator. I wholeheartedly believe that. I know there is. I just. It's not a gut feeling. You could feel that there's something behind everything, and it's way
Yeah.
bigger than we will ever be.
That's right. That's right. Another alien civilization would be facing the exact same problems as we do. And they would be dealing with the same laws of physics. They would ostensibly be more advanced, but how would they find us? and where in the universe would they be? It's a big subject. Let me just say that the all of the stars that you see in the sky and the trillions of galaxies and the trillions of stars and all of the atoms in those stars obviously is an enormous number.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's in the
but
trillions, gabillions. It's just like
yeah,
forever.
but the number, okay, of all of those things self-assembling into even one reproducing cell is a number with about 40,000 zeros after it.
Hmm.
So the numbers say no.
No.
They say it's not that simple. Or if there were other civilizations in the universe, they arose the same way as we did, and it was an evolution. So that's my take on it.
Well,
Okay.
look at it like
But
this.
I've made this preamble because we're going to get into some things that are a little bit esoteric, and I don't claim to have perfect understanding of them. But I'm just going to describe the picture as I see it.
It's just backtrack on what you just said there. It's almost like another metaphor, a tornado hitting a car parts factory, and
Yeah.
once the tornado subsides, you have a built car.
You have a built car. You have a 747.
No, it's not gonna fly. It's not gonna work.
Yeah,
It does
the
not work.
tornado in a junkyard, or the million monkeys on typewriters generating the complete works of Shakespeare.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna
Same
fly.
idea. Yeah, no, there's some major problems with that, and the people who are convinced of it, okay, for the most part, are committed materialists, ideologically committed materialists.
Oh,
So when and it may not even be that they don't have spiritual beliefs of their own, but as far as they're concerned, when it comes to science, you can only use material causes. Well, obviously you're going to bump up against the barrier there sooner or later, where you have to attribute something to, I mean, they call it miracles and people roll their eyes, but really all you're talking about is an interaction from a dimension outside of the three-dimensional one that we live in, or four if you include time. Okay, which to me is ultimately that's the barrier they're going to bump up against, or at least if they have bumped up against it, sooner or later someone is going to just admit it, because most science today is, let's face it, it's funded, and that funding implies a direction.
yeah, and
So
so is our big pharma. So is everything. We should be like in Star Trek years by now, but we're savages. All we
sure,
do is
yeah.
fight.
Yeah, we don't really make any progress. The most futuristic society we lived in was probably around the time of the moon landings. After that, if anything, it's gone backwards.
Yeah.
We're morally bankrupt even as our technology is increased, but we're hitting the limits of where that technology actually benefits us now. Social media has ruined a lot of people's lives.
We're socially divided.
Yeah, the surveillance state we're living in is not improving anybody's life or improving their freedom. Families breaking down all over the place. There seems to be very rare to experience a situation where you have actual family love or community spirit anymore. And I believe all of that was by design. I don't think it was an accident. So the direction that our technology is taking us is not good. So either we start hitting the limits of what people are willing to tolerate, or we're going to go into full-blown tyranny. And that's where I think and I don't mean tyranny like a Stalinist state. I mean a tyranny where where even your thoughts are being surveilled, like 1984. And at that point in time, the only reason they have that kind of power, like O'Brien said in 1984, is it's for the sake of power alone.
Yeah.
It's just a sadistic desire to completely ruin everyone's life and use them as basically livestock to be harvested. These people don't like us. They're not like us at all.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they're not in the majority. Unfortunately, they operate behind the scenes, and that we get attacked from directions that it's not possible to defend against, because we don't know where the attack is coming from or what they're going to do next.
Right.
So obviously you would have to have people on the inside that would understand the mechanism of a system like that. So to get back to your original point about, get down to the root of the tree. In this case, I would use the picture of that Masonic pyramid on the US $1 bill. Right? You have a pyramid composed of building blocks. That would be all of the organizations and all of the councils and the think tanks and all of these, the corporations, these mega corporations. Okay, which operate as part of this web. Okay, but at the top of the pyramid, there's always a disembodied eye watching over everything.
The all-seeing eye.
The all-seeing eye, yeah, the all-seeing eye of the light bringer.
They used to call that the eye of Newt, right?
The Eye of Newt, yeah, or yeah, Eye of Sauron, in the what's that, Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Same idea. Yeah, this blazing eye which watches over everything and brings enlightenment. They're very religious people,
Mm-hmm.
and they follow precise rituals. They use a lot of math. They use a lot of measurements. Um, yeah, and
What
it's
is their
very
most obsession thing? Like if you look at the Mayans, they were obsessed with time, keeping time or timekeeping.
yeah.
The Mayans kept better time records than we do even today. They could
Yeah.
predict solar eclipses 1,000 years from now. What were these guys obsessed about? Was it money, greed, power, all power? Like what?
Yeah, power, but predominantly the power that comes from being worshipped. There's a strong belief that worship, um, you know, creates power.
Okay. So their
These are,
obsession, their main obsession is power. But are we looking at power of the masses or power within the upper ranks, or is it power in? But and then that leads me back again, Supreme, that our life expectancy isn't that long on Earth. So what are they expecting to do in that short time where they're here?
well, this in the end is why they're intensely religious, Mike. Because in the end, if you're looking at a multi-generational project
Mm-hmm.
to assume total control over the world, someone is going to come up with a plan a long, long time ago, and understanding that it's going to be their children or their great grandchildren or their great great grandchildren who are actually going to bring it to completion.
Oh, it's a lineage.
It's a lineage, yeah, that's right. Most of the ruling families in the world, they intermarry, partly to make sure that all of the secrets are kept inside the families, okay,
And they keep their bloodline.
and they keep their bloodline, but also they keep their wealth. They don't marry outside of the bloodlines because they want to keep the wealth they've accumulated, and
Okay.
and thus maintain their power through it. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of family connections, even in the media complex. Between media and politics, there are a lot of people that are. Yeah, I just saw something on something mentioned by QAnon a couple of days ago, talking about family connections and intermarriages between political and media figures, and it's fairly illuminating all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
How inbred and what a small little Cosa Nostra they got going here.
Yeah, La Cosa Nostra.
La Cosa Nostra, yeah. Omerta, you don't talk about it, or you don't talk about Fight Club, or you're going to get killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whistleblowers, they don't live long. They
Mm-hmm.
don't live long. Somebody could Google Gary Webb, for example, in the mid '90s, who investigated the cocaine trafficking that was done when Clinton was governor of Arkansas through Mena, Arkansas.
Yeah.
uh, and what was going on there with the CIA involvement, and he was getting down pretty deep into it. But we didn't have internet in 1994.
Yeah,
And
that
every
I
time he
remember. I
tried to build
remember
this,
the. I even remember the article. There was "Kill the Messenger" article, right?
basically,
That
yeah,
was "Kill the
yeah,
Messenger" article. How the CIA watched over Gary Webb. Yeah, "Kill the Messenger." There it is. There it is. I just found it. "Kill the
yeah,
Messenger."
kill the messenger. Yeah, that's a sad story of the people that have been trying to wake up the masses over the years. They were on an uphill battle against a media completely controlled by six corporations, by people in high places who absolutely were prepared to do anything to maintain their power. Okay, they ruined this gentleman's life. He lost his marriage, he lost his family, he lost his money. He was basically homeless. He continued to fight, and ultimately he was found dead with a couple of bullets, I think, to the back of his head, and I believe it was ruled as suicide.
Yeah, in the woods,
This is
right?
how those people display their power. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Just a few steps, like not
yeah,
really in the woods, like 12, 15 steps, just outside of a parking lot somewhere, and then just a few steps into the woods. Boom, right there. Apparently, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking. That's
yeah,
how it
yeah.
was.
Well, it's like Vince Foster, for example, that lawyer for who represented Hillary Clinton
Mm-hmm.
and some of her earlier activities. He was part of the staff when the Clintons were, or when Bill Clinton was elected,
Mm-hmm.
and then not long after he was found dead in Fort Marcy Park, in the District of Columbia. The park police found him, and there were all kinds of inconsistencies in the
Yeah,
police report, and they
they're
ruled
gonna
it.
lose the reports. They're gonna forget to fill out certain
Yeah,
areas.
Yeah, and they leave clues. They do leave clues because in the case of Vince Foster, he was shot, and they said he shot himself, but the gun was too far away for that to have happened, and I think it was even a different caliber. But I think the reason that they let those inconsistencies remain is because it sends a message to everybody else.
Hmm.
Um, we're going to rule this guy as suicide. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
We're making it obvious that this guy was killed and he didn't commit suicide, but the official story is going to be suicide. Every paper and every television station in the entire world is going to say it was a suicide, even though all the evidence right in front of your face says it wasn't.
Hmm.
What are you going to do about
Heck,
it?
heck,
Okay.
even if surveillance cameras showed that it wasn't a suicide, they'll still say it's a suicide.
That's right. Yeah, they're flaunting their power at that point. They're saying it's obvious. Don't bother investigating anything. Don't bother getting involved because we're the ones who are going to write the history of everything. And this is what happens to people who go against us. And you're not going to be any different. So it is a form of rule by terror without secret police walking around on the streets.
So the whole deal of, if you go back to La Cosa Nostra, was basically it's basically a secretive organization where they kept to themselves and they kept their dealings to themselves and they never ratted on each other. Now, back to what you said earlier, they're just out in plain sight, flashing the world, and I guess nothing could be done about what's happening, I guess.
Yeah, well, they're obviously flaunting their power. Yeah, and constantly undermining what we would call, civil society,
Hmm.
and making it plain that as far as they're concerned, there's nothing we can do to stop it. There isn't anybody who's going to help, and we're going to win. And the idea is to sow a sense of defeatism,
Hmm.
right? It's to say, don't bother fighting, just give up, just surrender, just yield. Take the ticket.
But it's so ironic that it's just a handful of people too. Like, I'm pretty sure all the majority of the top brass could fit in this room I'm in.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's a small group. It's I think the black nobility of Europe, the royal families of Europe, of which there are the royal houses of Europe. I think there's actually several dozen.
Hmm.
It's not just the ones of say the Netherlands and the UK, and for example, but no,
Hmm.
there are royal and noble families that are still aristocratic families to this day, even though the empires they're a part of, uh, theoretically don't exist anymore.
All right, let's go over here real quick to the first rulers of evil. Give us a little synopsis here. I'll read a little bit here. It says the only Supreme, you there? Supremo? Okay, I'll go ahead and read this. The only people in the world, it seems, who believe in the conspiracy theory of history are those of us who have studied it. While Franklin Delano Roosevelt might have exaggerated when he said nothing happens in politics by accident, if it happens, it was planned that way. Are you there, Supreme? Supremo? Let's get him back on the phone here. Oh, he's disconnected. They must be tuning in. Well, this is a recording. What the heck? All right, I'll keep reading this. Internet conspiracy sites strive to identify conspiratorial factions. We get pieces here and pieces there. The world is run by Freemasons, some way. Others say Skull and Bones, and lose at the loss of the Confederation of Secret Societies, at the loose Confederation Societies. CIA gets lots of votes along with Mossad. So it goes into a lot of this. Wow, look at all the symbolism. Holy crapola. You thought you'd see that in a Disney movie. That's huge. Let's see if we can get Supremo back here. Because he took some notes down and he's. So it's called Rulers of Evil by F. Tupper Sousey. It's a PDF version here. And you could just. This thing is huge. Holy crap. you guys could read this and kind of see the angle of what things are happening, where things are happening, and how things are happening. And let's see if we can get him back in a few minutes here. Let's move over to the next one here. Continuing Counter-Reformation. The Counter-Reformation of the Vatican Jesuits order did not end back in the 1600s, or more accurately, the Roman Catholic Inquisition did not end during the 1800s. Open their eyes in order to turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan to God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins, inheritance among those who are sanctified by faith in me. Acts 26:18. A New King James Version Bible. But here's the deal with that, guys. You see, a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, Mike, you're a Catholic, and you believe all this stuff, and look what the church is doing, and all that, and there's this and that. How are these holy men or men of God?" Those people don't represent me in the Vatican. Supreme, you there, buddy? Supreme, you there?
Hello.
Okay, you're back.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. I was just reading Counter of Reformation. Now, I brought this one up. Oh, we lost him again. Wow, he's got some pretty bad internet where he's at. Poor guy. Are you there? So basically, what I was saying, yeah, those people, the Vatican doesn't represent me. The Pope does not represent me.
Yeah.
There you are.
Okay, good.
Okay, we got you back,
No.
all right? Okay. So, hello? Supreme? Yeah, we keep losing him, man. We just, our call just dropped. He's offline again. All right, so when people say, "Oh, Mike, you look at what they're doing," those high-end, top-notch enchilants, to me, the higher level you are in this whole pyramid of Catholicism, the more corrupt and dark and evil it gets. I'm just a peasant on the ground and a true follower of Christ because Jesus is my type of guy. Forgive your neighbor. Love your neighbor. Don't build a house on a weak foundation. All these morals and parables and stories that he brought, and reflecting on people's sins and how he basically martyred himself for us. And yeah, he's my type of guy, the King of Peace, Jesus. Everybody else on that scale of let's see if we can move to a better place there in his house. Anybody else in the in that level, that pyramid level of higher echelon Roman Catholicism, to me is whatever, right? Oh, the people are like, "Oh, Mike, the Pope is speaking, like he's gonna have a so what?" But The Most Powerful Man in the World by Tupper Soucy. And then we got a few, he gave us a few Twitter followers here, or Twitter people. I'm not on Twitter. Twitter's like for famous people, like very, very famous people. That's IET17. And then we have the Covifi, and Marine Patriot here, another one. And then he also wants me to plug Out of the Shadows Official. Out of the Shadows, it looks like it's a documentary that discusses, it looks like it's a really well-made documentary here that discusses a lot of stuff. I can see things here from the Third Reich. I see just different people here. Just John Podesta. I wonder if it talks about Anthony Weiner. All right, let's give him another call. See if we can get him. Yeah, we got no pulse here, guys. We got no pulse. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to end this as part 1. And we'll call it the Supreme Canon discussion. The Supreme Canon unveils. I'll see if I can get a hold of him tomorrow so we can start getting into the war of the interlying war between the elites and what's happening at the upper levels. And are they attacking each other at the roots now? Who is moving around for power? Who is taking over? Who is sweeping the board? Think of it like a chess game. Think of it as the pieces are marked, but no longer are the pieces choreographed. Is there something happening in the background? Join us tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can get part 2 up tomorrow for this, and we will continue this saga. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'm sorry about this. I wanted to go on for an hour or 2, but unfortunately, I can't get a hold of him. I'm really sorry about that, guys. We'll get him back on as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and look out for number 2 of this, and we'll continue this very soon.